Hi there, my name is Rebecca Williamson. I'm the publisher of Fierce Biotech, and I'm here today with Karla Anderson, partner in the life sciences practice at Guidehouse. Karla, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So Karla, to kick us off, tell me, what are the biggest hurdles that first-time launchers face as they prepare for launch?
There's a lot of hurdles, but I think the ones that sort of rise to the surface is getting the organization that they work in to move from a development company to a commercialization focus. And obviously, the asset is sort of at the center of all that the company is focused on, but there really are so many commercialization activities that need to take place. Getting that shift and sort of building the business case to get people to really turn towards market entry and how we want to enter the market, whether they want to go it alone, whether they want to partner, whether they want to get acquired. Those are big decisions to make, obviously, but all needing to be made sort of in parallel with still not knowing what the outcome of your clinical study is going to be. So it's finding that balance and really trying to, whoever's there on behalf of kind of the commercialization effort, to try to get the mind share to be able to focus on those early stage activities that you want to do. And, that takes investment and resources, et cetera. So I think the biggest hurdle is getting that development shift to commercialization. I think that another sort of major hurdle is really finding the right team. It's interesting at, bringing people with experience that have worked at large companies is really great. But in first-time launchers, you really need leaders/doers. They have to roll up their sleeves. Most of the functional areas are pretty lean. And so you want somebody that is really going to, really set the organization up right, but also be able to make that transition to be a team leader as the organization grows. And so finding the right mix of people with the right mindset and that sort of can-do attitude, and wanting to be part of a small team that, is got a lot of is purpose-driven and has a lot of, camaraderie around building something and bringing it to market. And then I think the third piece is really the hurdle of staying focused on the external market. There are so many. The market is getting increasingly complex, and the medicines are complex, and so you end up really having all these internal things to do. And how do you really, especially when you're a first-time launcher, you're trying to do brand building, you don't necessarily have the relationships in the market that you need, and so that market shaping that needs to happen, et cetera, is really calling people to, just stay focused externally, and then yet you've got all these things that you have to work on from the inside. So you need to appropriately resource things, and I think, again, it's always a balance of getting access to investment and funding that, can really start to bog an organization down, and then you miss some of these windows of opportunity to get the market prepared appropriately.
Now tell me, for biotechs whose go-to-market includes partnering or being acquired, what are the most important factors in preparing for that strategy?
Yeah, I think when people are thinking through that very strategic decision, and obviously more companies are going it alone, especially in the US, than ever before, but there's still a lot of people who want to partner or who would like to be acquired. And I think sometimes there's a mindset that is focused on, well, let's not do anything because we're going to get acquired, or our partner will pick this up. And I think that there are really three things that we believe are critical for a company to do regardless of their go-to-market strategy. So, and they're important because they map out the understanding of what the expectation is of the asset and how you're going to commercialize it, regardless of whether you're going to do it directly or someone else is going to do it. And so for us, we always recommend, even if you're going to be acquired or you're going to partner, that you do a detailed launch and infrastructure development plan. One is a contingency plan in case you don't find the right partner or get acquired, but also because it maps out what is it going to take to make this asset optimally adopted in the market, and when do you need to do things, and what are the assumptions. And that's really important as you enter into those strategic discussions. So that's number one. Number two is really doing pricing research and value demonstration from the market perspective to say, I think I can command this price. I've got the evidence or expect to have the evidence that's going to let me get this price in the market. That's obviously a fundamental assumption. And then coupling those two into a robust forecast so that you really can talk in very detailed terms about what you expect to happen in the marketplace, and also to de-risk that discussion to say, if you don't invest in these things in advance of launch, you probably won't get the same return. I think companies that don't do that often their value gets discounted as partners and potential acquirers come in because they're like, hey, you haven't done the things early on that need to be done. You don't really know what, it's going to take to make this successful. And so it really is an investment in the future value of your asset, regardless of the way you go to market.
Tell me, what do you see as the most significant trend or disruption impacting the biotech industry today?
Probably the thing that's had the biggest impact has been, over the last several years, the access to capital. I think there's really, although it looks like things are, starting to look up a bit, hopefully, but I think that has kind of made for a relatively conservative approach to initiating commercial decisions. So there's a little bit of foot on the gas, foot on the brake, not wanting to spend too much money until you know what your data is going to say, et cetera. And, even large companies, sort of face that decision. But I think it's magnified in small companies, and really that idea of getting the trial appropriately recruited and getting it done is the most important factor. But if you wait and do things sequentially, I think you end up coming to the market too late with too little differentiation. And especially for a lot of first-time launchers, they're bringing rare disease products to market, and there isn't anybody that's developed the market. So if you miss that window, we know that if you don't, have a really strong first year, you probably aren't going to maximize the value of the asset. So getting that, finding that balance between not overspending and really, I think, rethinking launch from the perspective of what are the highest yield investments that I should be focusing on so that I do strengthen my value narrative, I do generate more evidence, I do optimize access, I do understand how product adoption is going to happen, and I understand how the ecosystem is going to respond in terms of how long it's going to take to get a product adopted. All of those things are so critical, and I think without sort of that free flow of money, I think it's been it's been challenging for companies.
So if we're going to look ahead, what do you believe will be the most critical success factors for biotechs over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think it's getting smarter about what matters, what works, what moves the needle in terms of adoption of products and access. I think that, certainly we see one of the great things for first-time launchers is that they're sort of unencumbered by the, behemoth, organizations that many of them have come from. And they really have something special, I think, related to a real cross-functional team that's manageable to work together. And I think that has the power to bring more value back to the organization if it's used properly. And I think that rethinking of the launch to say, how do I use technology? How do I use AI to identify patients? How do I really emphasize what data enablement can do for me and think differently instead of just applying kind of a scaled down version of a big launch plan that may have taken place, with a global multinational. So that really contextualizing it for the organization that they're in. And then I think also recognizing that they do have to compete with global multinationals. So they can't kind of say, well, I'm a small company, so I'm only going to be able to do certain things. They really have to be prepared to compete and win in the market. And that is going to take more ingenuity, more strategic choices, I think, about really understanding what does this particular product need, and sort of casting away some of the stuff that maybe is superfluous relative to, to launch.
Well, that is all the questions that I have today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.